So, hi, I had wanted to make YouTube videos for a long time, and I quit because I wanted to make more unique ones, and I couldn't figure out how to use the technology. And now my computer has completely pooped out on me. But it's a new year, and I've decided that even if I can't do any editing or make them very good quality videos, I'd still like to make them. And for the longest time, I have been wanting to record my movement journals. So I took a movement class in college in the university, Illinois State University, and I won't say the professor's name just for the sake of privacy, but it was probably one of my favorite classes that I've ever taken. And it was kind of like an acting class, but it was exploring improvisational things, sometimes with music, sometimes without music, according to this. And at the beginning I had a lot of problems, but later I think things got much better. I haven't read all of them though. I just now read this one. It's been years since I read this, and I'm ashamed to say that I don't know why I never read his feedback, the teacher's feedback, because it's so sweet. I've just read it and it just makes it such an endearing thing to read. And some of the wording I'm using in here is actually good and are well worded, and I like it. Considering I've started writing, I kind of want to use some of it, and I'm like, wow. And I don't know, honestly, I was probably just so overwhelmed with homework, because this was my first semester at Illinois State, that's probably why I didn't go back and read his, what he was going to say. But if I had, I think I would have felt more comforted. So I'm ashamed to say that I hadn't, but, I'm going to, so it was kind of like an acting class only with improvisational skills, and eventually we learned about the Alexander technique, which I'll explain that to you in the future, but you'll definitely want to stick around for that, because that is all about, it's about more than just posture, but it's like my professor, he would put his hands on you, and all the tension in your muscle would just relax, and you find that you can stand so much taller. And then he would teach you that there's an improper way to open a door and a proper way to open a door, and it was just amazing. You had to be there. I wrote journal articles on that, and I will definitely be showing those to you. But first, we're gonna go over some other journals before we did that, because I'm assuming I think we did do some of these things before we did the Alexander technique. So with that ado, let's go on with it. Alright, so, movement on Tuesday, September the 4th. This past Tuesday was a very challenging day for me not to overanalyze. The instructions were to move when your partner was moving and stop when they stopped. However, we could move in different ways and at different rates. This made things interesting. We played this game 3 times, each time with a different partner. The first time I played this game, I remember trying so hard not to overanalyze and watching my partner's legs because I wanted to try and stop as soon as I saw him stop. It really wasn't very fun, and the entire time I felt very nervous. The next time was kind of a midway point for me. I tried to loosen up and experiment with things a little more. I was not as worried, but I still felt like I was overthinking way too much. Then after talking to my partner, I realized that maybe I should try gazing into my partner's eyes, instead of keeping an eye on where they were moving. However, as soon as I tried that with my next partner, I quit. The strategy did not work for me. Instead, I started playing around with tactics a little bit and reacting to my partner a little more. He underlined that part, by the way. Reacting to my partner a little more. I almost found a strategy that actually worked. I still overthought things way too much, though. I felt like maybe I should have given it to my partner some more. This is because there were times when I didn't know what to make out of him. I felt like he was a tender beast. He underlined that and said, great opposites. But he still kind of scared me a little. Whenever he reached out his hand onto the floor, I wanted to grab it. And I actually do remember that moment. Out of all this, I don't remember, but I do remember that very moment now that I'm reading it. And that it was a moment that I was scared to take. And I don't think the new me years later would be scared to take it. I must say that. But anyway, I'm going to continue reading. Whenever he reached out his hand on the floor, I wanted to grab it. I felt like he needed help. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was too scared. I was afraid if I gave in, what would happen? I felt like this was me holding back, But now I wonder if it was just my imagination talking. He underlined it. Right. But I felt like if it really clicked, if I really gave into whatever came, my overanalyzation would cease. He wrote, "It's a process. You were on the pathway. You were on the pathway, oh great one." Anyway, no. I'm serious, though. He wrote that. "It is weird because it seems that some things are so much easier for me to get lost in, while others are nearly impossible. It was so much easier for me to get lost the day we did the dancing activity. However, even then, I did not fully get lost. The day we did the dancing oh no. Maybe it is because I know that people are watching, and that is what can make it challenging for me not to overthink." He underlined that and said, "Yes, for everyone, or for anyone." So, started kind of figuring out what the root of the problem was, and that it was, you know, worried about what other people were thinking was causing part of my overanalyzation, which I think makes a lot of sense, and I've kind of endured that recently, and I can kind of understand that. But I think as you become more confident in time, that kind of helps. But you kind of become more confident by taking risks, I think. Anyway, so back to this. When I dance in my room, or even in public, I have mastered turning off my brain. It is like flipping a switch. It just happens. Certain music can just do that to me. That is probably because, to me, music carries with it, depending upon the song, so much emotion. When I'm feeling it, I just go. However, without music or even a character, you are feeling on the spot. I find it that much more difficult to just go with it. Maybe if I am feeling a sort of character in movement class, I should just try it. That might help me get into it a little more. However, it's still not the same. There is something about music that has this amazing ability to help me lose it. If only it was this simple without an extra ingredient. That's everything I wrote. That's my whole journal. And I like how I said, if only it was this simple without an extra ingredient. I like that extra ingredient. I gotta remember that for now that I'm into writing. I've got to remember that. I really like that. And it's like, wow, I realized that I overanalyzed so much more back then than I do now. I really think I've improved, and it's great to read. I think I was a lot more insecure years ago, and I think that makes sense. I think as you get older, you become a little more confident. I think that continues to happen, and we all do this at different rates, but I think that's part of it. And I think I know what I'm talking about. Actually, there have been times where I've started to overanalyze things with dancing. But in the past, I only danced whenever I felt it and felt a good song. And that's why my brain would shut off, because all the emotion was sweeping up into me and I was just feeling it. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, here's what my teacher said. My teacher actually wrote underneath this, and he goes, some of it's kind of hard to read, that's why it takes me a second. He's like, "You are something still something, I think." And then he goes, "You run deep." Ooh, is he saying that I'm a deep person? That's kind of a compliment if that's what he means. I'm not sure if that's what he means. You are onto something with every go overthinking. So you're onto something with the overthinking. But it's not a linear process. Give yourself time. A. He gave me an A. He gave me an A. He said, "Give yourself time, oh great one." Anyway, no, seriously though, I wish I had read this at the time. It would have all been so comforting, but I used to be a lot harder on myself than I was then. I've learned to try to become better without being hard on myself. I used to think that you had to do both. You had to be hard on yourself if you want to become better, but now I've learned there's a way to do it without doing that. And I think, because he would always I do remember him saying, "You're always so hard on yourself." And I would be hard on myself, but then I wouldn't actually take risks. So now I've learned to kind of occasionally take risks, not care so much, and not be so hard on myself, and to learn what I can do better. And I think it's all helped me so much in the long run, but I kind of learned not to do that from him. So I loved having a movement class at Illinois State University a few years ago with my professor, and I want to name him so bad, but I don't want to name him just in case. It was one of my favorite classes, and this is my first, if not one of my first, movement journals. So I'm going to redo some more of them, and it's going to be really exciting. And just wait for that Alexander technique. Wait for it. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.